now that we know what the notes are that we're looking for, what all the notes are in music, that was our last video. If you haven't seen that, jump over to our website, groundbreakcreative.com. It'll put all these lessons into order for you. It's still all free. Just it makes a bit more sense when it's all one after the other. Cool, so we know what they all are now, so now we're going to look at how to find them on the guitar. So some of you will already have a guitar, some of you won't. This is something you can still do if you don't have a guitar. You just need this picture. Okay, so I'll put this and the other picture I'm going to use, the note circle, that was also in the last video. I'll put those down for download underneath this video on the website, so you can download them or print them from there. Otherwise you can draw your own. So what we need is 6 strings and 12 frets. Okay, so these frets, those are the metal bars on the neck of your guitar. Okay, and you'll see I've chucked some dots in there. You can tell I drew this by hand. That's why it's all a little bit rough, and then I scanned it rather than mucking around on the computer. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at, because the idea with this is that you actually fill these out, so print this out or draw it yourself, and fill out these spaces where these notes are. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is up here, these open strings. So we have E, A, D, G, B, E. So this is looking straight at the neck, so this is the top of the neck here, so the head of the guitar is up here with all your tuning pegs and stuff on it, and the body of the guitar, the big wide bit, being down the bottom here. This neck will actually come down further, but we've only come up to the 12th fret where the double dots are, and there's a reason for that you will find out very shortly. Okay, so E, A, D, G, B, E. I encourage you just to remember it like that. It's pretty simple. E, A, D, G, B, E. You get used to it. You're certainly going to get used to it once we get into tuning the guitar, because every time you tune you're going to need to know those. Some people like to do sayings around stuff, which we do for some stuff. I don't really bother it with this, but you could make one up. You could make Earl ate dead grapes before Ernie or something. I don't know. That's what people do. But E, A, D, G, B, E. It's like 6 things. That's easy. Cool. So now that we know those, now we can start working out what these other notes are. And for that, we're going to go back to our note circle that we looked at in the last video. So just ignore the keyboard down here. That was for another purpose. Okay, so let's look at our first string, the low one, where the open note, is E. So all we do from there is we're going to start going around this circle. F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, B flat, B, C, C sharp, D, E flat, E. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, or B flat, sorry, B, C, C sharp, D, E flat, E. Okay, so the only reason I say those ones is because that's what's written in the circle here. Okay, but you can actually call that that B flat can also, that B flat can also be A sharp. Okay, you can call it either because it's the same note. If we sharpen the note, we come up, so coming up the neck to a higher pitch. Okay, which is backwards when we're looking at it this way around. It looks like it's going down the neck, but we actually refer to that as going up the neck because the pitch is getting higher. Okay, so one semitone, so between frets is a semitone. Okay, missing one fret out and going from there to there would be a full tone. Okay, so going up a semitone is sharpening, going down a semitone is flattening. So B flat or A sharp. Cool, and then we just repeat that across the strings. So you'll notice that one is E, and this one is also E. So those two strings are going to be the same all the way. So for this next string here, we look at A. So let's go back to our note circle, and we go A, B flat, B, C, C sharp, D, E flat, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. Okay, so this circle doesn't change, this run of notes. So once you learn that, then it makes this part really simple, because you just go through them. A, B flat, B, C, C sharp, D, E flat, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. So what you'll notice down here at the 12th fret is that you end up with these notes again. And that's a great way to work out whether you've made a mistake somewhere along the way. If the note that you get in the 12th fret is different from the note at the top here for the open strings, then you've missed a step or added an extra one in or something along the way. So it pays to do this in pencil first and then go over it in pen later, and you can use it as a reference. Okay, so we just repeat the things for each string. So trying to remember the run, but also having this note circle, which is also going to be available for download under this video, okay, as a reference. So you just start at that open note, and then the next note after it, always going clockwise, the next note after it is going to be your first fret note, and then you just carry on from there. So just remember, there's no sharp or flat between B and C and E and F. Everything else needs a sharp or flat between it. It doesn't really matter whether you call it a G sharp or an A flat. It's the only reason I've written these ones big is because they're just common terms. Okay, so you can go ahead and download that, print it off, whatever you want to do, and fill those out. And then what we want to do is we want to start looking at some key areas that we can start memorizing. So really, we want to start focusing with these top two strings. Okay, and then we want to start focusing on where the dots are. So the dots are placed there for a reason. They're a quick reference point. So you have one at 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, 9th fret, and then we jump to 12th fret. So we have 2 frets in between the 9 and the 12. Okay, some guitars will miss out this first dot here, and they will just start from the 5. It just depends on how the guitar's set up. Okay, so what we want to look at is, say, this note here, which happens to be a G, and this note here, which is a C, and our D here, and our A here, and up here we go to our B, and our E, and then because here we have B, C, and E, F, that means on this 9th fret here they become the sharps, so C sharp and F sharp, okay, and then back to on our 12th we're back to our first notes E and A. Okay, so that's a full octave. So the reason that it's called an octave is because it's 8 degree scales. I always say that, 8 scale degrees. Okay, don't worry about that at the moment. It just means it's the same note. We'll look at that more when we look at the major scale pattern. Okay, and then your first fret here as well is a good one to know, with F and B flat there. Okay, so they're just good reference points to have. So the reason I say start with the top two strings is because when we go past that, we start being able to use patterns. So for example, if I want to know what this note here is, well, it happens to be the same as this note here, because that's an octave pattern, which again you'll see when we go to the major scale. But if I go through my major scale and I start on a 1, my 8 ends up here. So that pattern is to miss a string and miss a fret. And then those are the same notes. So that's F and F. Okay? But anytime I involve this B string, that's going to start to change. So if I was to go from here, from there, miss a fret and a string, I would end up here. But that's not F. Because I'm on the B string now, I need to take that one more fret. Okay? So that anytime we're using or crossing that B string, things change. On these top 4 strings, that pattern works. Okay? It's just because of the way the guitar's set up. Once we get to this B string, everything moves over a step, and then that continues. So, for example, let's look at this note here. Okay, so if we took that back an octave, we would end up, sorry, where am I? We would end up here, okay, which is B flat. So B flat, miss a string, miss a fret, we get another B flat, because we haven't hit this B string yet. But now we're going to go across it. So if I miss a fret and miss a string and come to here, that's not a B flat. I need to come up. Because I'm crossing the B string, then I'm going to end up here, and that's a B flat, which will be the same as this B flat here. Okay? Yeah, so start with the top 2 strings and work on where these reference points are. So the reason we do that is because once we know the reference points, it's easy to find the others. For example, I know that the A is here on the 5th on my low E string. So we call it the low E string because it's low in tone. Okay, so when you're holding the guitar upright, this will be the string closest to you. This is an A. Okay, so I know before my A, I'm going to get an A flat or a G sharp, and I know after it, I'm going to get a B flat or an A sharp. Okay, so that's the point of these, to give you quick reference points. So I know this one here is my F sharp, so one fret before it is my F, one after it is the G, and so on and so forth. So set about doing that. It should occupy you for a little while, and just remember, do it in pencil first and make sure you get the same notes down here to make sure we have the right steps.